That first piece from Symphonic Band was titled Abracadabra. Definitely the composer kind of playing around with the idea of every time you get kind of in a groove in that piece, next measure he just changes it, and it always kind of returns mostly to the same thing, slightly different every time. This next piece of music is titled Fantasy on a Japanese Folk Song, and the composer, Samuel Heizo, he's one of my favorite composers. We've played quite a bit of music by him. He does such an excellent job of telling a story through the music, and this piece of music does have a specific story to it, so I'm going to read you his program notes here. So this is from the composer. Fantasy on a Japanese folk song tells the story of a Japanese girl who is given a music box by her mother and father when she is just a child. This music box plays the Japanese doyo, which is child's song, Tsuneyama. As a young girl, this music box always provided a sense of comfort and solace during her trying times. When she becomes an adult, she falls in love with an American and faces the choice of staying in her Japanese village or marrying and going to America with him. She's very much in love with him, and she chooses to leave. However, she later realizes the need to feel close to her culture, and part of her always wonders if there is a life for her in her native Japan. As time goes by, the sense of conflict, which was once more easily suppressed in the beginning, surfaces with more intensity, proving that only in a woman's heart there can exist an inner love and inner war simultaneously. Balancing her love for her husband with her love for the culture she left behind gives way to painful episodes. During these moments, her only method of coping with her circumstances is to lock herself away, open the music box given to her as a child, and at the sound of the very first note, to cry. So there's a couple things that I want to point out in the music that you're going to hear throughout this performance. The first is this main theme, other than the main folk song melody that you're going to hear from the flutes at the very, very beginning. But there's this theme that he kind of hides away in this piece, and it comes back over and over and over. And he's kind of just titled it the Theme of Tears. I'm going to have Sean play the melody of that here. Just that. So you're going to hear that. If you pay attention, that happens all over the place, signifying these moments where she's having trouble coping with the situation or just crying. The other thing that you're going to hear is represented in the percussion section. So Jacob, can you hold up what you're playing really quick? So Jacob's kind of got a homemade taiko drum over here. It's very elaborate. It's a tire and some packing tape. Because actual taiko drums are very, very, very expensive. But this does the job pretty well, and it gets a close sound without being super authentic. But you're going to hear Jacob, whenever he's playing that taiko drum, representing her home culture of Japan. And in this middle section, you're going to hear kind of this heartbeat, heart attack, I'll call it, between the taiko drum, timpani, and bass drum, where there's three different heartbeats going on in these lowest three instruments that we have. And they're going to demonstrate this. This happens right in the middle of the piece, and right before the big climax. So those two rhythms don't really line up, but they do end up on that downbeat together, symbolizing those two things. And throughout this whole piece, there's a couple other bits of symbolism that we're not going to have the kids play, but whenever you hear the horn and altos play, that usually signifies the American in this piece of music, or her love for her husband, and so on. So, without further ado, Fantasy on a Japanese Folk Song. Thank you. Symphonic Band has one more piece of music for you before we go on to our combined piece. This last piece is called Solar Flare. Once again, this piece is pretty different from the piece that went right before it. Very fast. Most of this is in 7/8, which is a pretty funky time signature to play and count in. And you're going to hear a lot of energy from the group, lots of big hits and cool moments. Before we get into our last piece of music, there's a couple people I need to recognize, and I didn't warn them beforehand. Seniors, could you stand up? Percussion, still help. Devin Wayne, back there. Good. So this is our seniors' final band concert, and I do have to say every year that I've been here, it's harder to let the seniors go as I've had them for more and more years. I've seen these guys grow up quite a bit over the years, develop from pretty good musicians to great musicians, and these three especially are ones that are super, super dependable, and pretty much anything that I put in front of them, music or otherwise, they can handle. And I don't want to get too much talking here because next Thursday we have our band awards ceremony for both the concert band and symphonic band, and we'll talk more about the seniors and their accomplishments then. However, I did want to take a moment to recognize these seniors here tonight. Can you give them one more round of applause? So we're going to play Solar Flare, and then we'll have a couple minutes to set change for our last big combined piece of music, which will require a bit of explanation, which we'll get to when the time comes. For now, here's Solar Flare.